Welcome to the podcast. My name is Jamie Knight. I'm a realtor with Real Broker here in Cajun Country, Lafayette, Louisiana. I wanted to come on and make a podcast about what I'm calling doing business out of thin air. Okay, so I had a realtor that came into my office, and she lives in a small town, kind of on the outskirts of our area, and she's born and raised there. She's lived there her whole life, and she wants to do more business in her small town. So this particular area is kind of a little rural area, and there are a lot of vacant tracts of land coming into town, around town. And I told her, I said, look, a good opportunity for you would be to go out and find these people who might be willing to sell a piece of property on a main drag coming into town, and get them to let you agree to sell this property. And when you do that, it doesn't even have to be for a great price or giveaway price. It could be hey, I'm willing to sell it for this price, even if it's an inflated price. That's okay, because the main goal is to, of course, get yourself out there, get a big 4x8 sign, get a big picture of yourself out there with your contact information on this lot or this piece of property, whatever it may be. So I told her, I said, look, let's just try something just for fun, see if it works. So I got on Google Maps and I showed her the area, and I said, look, what area of the town would you be interested in putting a big sign up? And she said, look, there's this property right here, and it's a vacant lot, and it's on the side of this body shop. And so I looked up the owner of the property, and I just dialed him up. I rang the phone. So I talked to this guy, and a very, very nice guy. And I said, hey, look, I'm helping out a new agent on my team, and she is looking to grow her real estate business in the small town that she lives in. And, I saw that you had this vacant lot on the side of your body shop, and, would that be something that you would consider selling? Because she wants to put a big sign out to kind of get her name and face out in the town. And he said, look, long story short is I'm not willing to sell that particular lot because, I'm looking to expand into that lot, of course, with my body shop. So I was like, okay, I understand. So we just got to chatting with him, and found out a couple things that he was interested in. And I told him, I said, do you have any other opportunities that she might be interested in? And he said, you know what? I've got 80 acres coming into town, and if I got the right price, I would probably sell that 80 acres. So I was like, okay, awesome. So I said, what would you do if you sold that 80 acres? What would you do with the money that you got from it? And we just kind of started had him thinking about that. And he said, I would spend more time up at my camp that I have in Toledo Bend area, which I know is a great area. It's about 2.5 hours north of Lafayette. And, I know it's a great area for fishing, and a lot of people have camps up there and they love it. People spend weeks at a time up there. I've got a lot of friends and family that live up there. So, we got to talking about fishing, and we got to talk about, all the experiences that I had up there. And, what I found was he was just so excited to talk about that. He was so excited to talk about fishing, riding in the boat, hanging out at the camp, drinking beers with his friends and his family up there at the camp. So what was interesting, and I told Katie, the realtor that we are talking about, I said, look, what's important here is that we touched on something that was of value to him, that he was really excited about. So what was funny is when we hung up the phone, I looked down at my phone, and we had been on the phone for over an hour with a complete stranger that I called off of Google Maps, and I looked up his phone number. And, we found something that he was connected to. So we chatted about that, and that opened the door up. That opened the door up for an opportunity to have this guy in our corner. And he is super well respected in his community. He's a very, very nice guy. He is going to do a lot to help Katie out in her small town. And, I actually recently called him back, and I just chatted with him again about, what's been going on, the camp. I mentioned the camp. I mentioned fishing, all that other stuff. And, he said that his wife was just, possibly going to be inheriting some other property, and that may not be another opportunity for Katie to be able to list something else in that community as well. So I thought that was just awesome, to have that opportunity and to be able to connect with this guy like we did. But, a lot of realtors come to me and they say, oh, I'm so slow, or I don't have anything to do, or, what should I do? And I think it's important to note that you can chat around your office and say, hey, who has a specific need, or maybe it's at your office meeting, you hear someone says, hey, I have a buyer who's looking for a specific subdivision, or maybe they're looking for a condo in a condo complex. You can call that whole condo complex and you can say things like, hey, I noticed that you have a condo in such and such complex, and I have an agent in my office that chatted with me the other day about trying to find a condo, someone in the neighborhood who would be willing to sell that condo. So, if you say it in such a way like, hey, do you know of anyone in this condo complex that might be willing to sell their condo to that particular buyer? It kind of takes some of the pressure off of, hey, would you sell that condo? Versus, hey, do you know of anyone who might be considering selling a condo? So it takes a little pressure off, and you can dial the whole condo complex in not that long of a time and connect with those condo owners. And you can also do things like, hey, okay, if you don't want to sell right now, cool. What I've been finding that's helpful is I've been setting up a couple of the other condo owners to receive sales of condos when they actually do sell. Would you be interested in receiving some of the condos in that complex that do sell when they sell? Just so you can keep an eye on your value of your condo and be able to tell how much your condo is worth. And normally what you're going to get is sure, I'd be glad to, keep in touch in that way. And then what you do is you set that person up to receive that property in that neighborhood. You set them up on your local MLS, and you set them up to receive any properties that sell in that condo complex. So it's just a way that you can connect with people, and getting on the phone and having those conversations with people, just like we had with the guy in the small town. It was just a call out of the blue, but that's why I called it kind of doing business, creating business out of thin air. And it can be done. And, realtors, pick up the phone, give a neighborhood a call. You've got a buyer that's in looking for a specific neighborhood. Give a call to a few neighbors. You can. What I like to do sometimes too is I like to start with those people who don't live in that particular home. Maybe they have it as a rental property. You can go on the tax roll and research whether or not they live at the property. If you pull up the whole neighborhood on the tax roll and you see that there's a couple of addresses that don't match up with the actual address on the tax roll, that's a good opportunity. They might be renting that property, or maybe they inherited that property, or maybe, they have it just sitting there vacant and are waiting to be able to sell it. Who knows? So it's just like, being able to be creative and use the phone. I'm a phone guy, as you might could tell. I like to use the phone to grow my business. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing day in, day out. I'm looking for opportunities. I am looking to connect with property owners to be able to help them, sell their property or buy another property. And that's what I do all day. So I just kind of wanted to share that little tidbit with you guys. And I hope you get a ton of value out of that. But that was just kind of a crazy story about doing business out of thin air, creating something out of thin air. And now we've got an amazing person in our corner helping, a newer agent be able to grow her business in her town. So what's better than that? We've got a new friend in a small town that's going to do a lot to help her grow her business. So I appreciate you listening in, and I appreciate you listening through our podcast. It means a lot. Talk to you soon.